After 9 rounds of Swiss and all of our top 16 matches, we are now down to just 4 more series before we find out who our champion is going to be. It's going to be Insom versus Tars to find out who will be our final semi-finalist. My name's Cora, and I'm going to be bringing you this series alongside Lorinda. Lorinda, I know you are a fan of Tars.
I am a fan of Tars, yes.
He's got a really unique lineup. I haven't had a chance to cast it yet, so I'm really excited to be able to delve deeper into some of these weird lists. But we know his plan is don't ban Druid and attempt to target Druid and Mage.
Yep.
Or Druid and Priest, excuse me. Insom does not have Priest.
Can't leave Priest up if you don't have Priest.
Well, now that's just science now, isn't it? But I think Tars' lineup still will certainly work out well here. Insom does have a Mage as well as a Warrior and a Paladin, assuming the Druid will be left alone. So those are the potential bans. We've seen Tars ban Warrior in the past. I can assume maybe he would do the same this time. But now that lists are open, possible that things can change.
Yeah, and it's a very aggressive lineup from Insom. Even his Paladin deck is like the Grimscale Chum version. His Mage is a Secret Mage. His Warrior is a Pirate Warrior, I think. And his Druid has Druid cards in it, so it's probably good.
It has Ultimate Infestation. I think it's probably okay. Yeah, we haven't seen a Secret Mage as of yet. There's been not too much Mage overall in the tournament, but what we have seen, I think, has really just been Quest, along with maybe one Jaina Control Mage. But Secret Mage is very powerful, very good against Druid. So I'm kind of wondering what Insom's strategy is here. Let's go ahead and take a look at the picks and bans and see what we're working with for this series. All right, I was wondering. I was going to say, Insom has these aggro decks. I think he may just want to target Druid, and he's going to try. Tars has had his Paladin banned, and Insom has had his Warrior banned. So Tars' strategy has been the same throughout the tournament every time we've seen him, and he's just managed to match up against the guy who was also willing to try and pull off the impossible.
Can we have a Druid mirror in this event? What even is happening? This is the quarterfinals.
And we have only seen, I believe, 1 Druid game on stream. Maybe 2 when they were both Tars. And now we have 2 Druid decks unbanned. The humanity, Lorinda.
Yeah, Insom just went with hits you in the face.
Yeah.
And Tars has gone with a lineup that assumes that people aren't going to try and hit you in the face, to be fair.
No, but
so Insom might be in a really good spot here.
It really makes sense. The 4 decks that Insom has brought, he's probably assuming that his Druid gets banned 90% of the time. And then you've got the hyper-aggressive Paladin, hyper-aggressive Warrior, and the most aggressive version of Mage. So if you're thinking 3 prime aggro decks in the format right now, this is what you're going to be bringing, assuming Druid is banned and you can't bring aggro Druid. Makes a lot of sense to me, and it's clearly been working for him so far.
It does make you wonder if maybe he should have just brought aggro Druid anyway, because you never found out until this stage, and then what do you do if you're Tars? You just pick one, a random. I feel like taking the paper and say, hey, you forgot your Priest.
Hey, no, what about Kazakus?
It's like the first. I think this is the first series I've cast, at least, when neither players had, like, one player hasn't got Priest at all. It's
even maybe a little bit more shocking than not seeing the Druid ban now is not having a Priest, because there has just been so much Priest throughout this tournament, so many Priest mirrors, to the point where it's almost a little bit refreshing that we won't see one this time. But let's go ahead and hop into the game. It's going to be Insom versus Tars, the battle of the not Druid bans. And we're going to kick it off. Tars on his Jade Druid and Insom on this aggressive Secret Mage. Can really take advantage of the slow early ramp turns from the Jade Druid if you can get out Mana Worm, Arcanologist, some free secrets alongside your secret tech cards, and then blow them out with Cabal Crystal Runner.
A couple of Bone Mares thrown in there for good measure. This deck did tend to run out of stuff from time to time, but Bone Mares helped it. The meta hasn't helped it, which is why you don't see it that often, but double Counterspell, double Mirror are the 4 secrets. And it's pretty much as you were, apart from maybe the double Bone Mare in terms of what you would expect in the deck. Nowhere near the matchup this used to be back in the day. You just play Mirror and Druid didn't have anything to put into it. You would win. But now Druid can just put in things like 3/6s. The Jade generation means that the Mirror is nowhere near as good as it used to be. But I still like this as a matchup.
Tars is playing 2 copies of Naturalize in his Jade Druid.
Really?
Yes, he has 2 copies of Naturalize, 1 copy of the Lich King, so no Primordial Drakes. And he also has 2 copies of Mire Keeper, so he is really heavily trying to get to those late turns like all Jade Druids do, but he also wanted to have something to be able to kill large early threats from another Jade Druid, if that's what he's running into, or just any big minion that you can't normally deal with.
Maybe he's thinking that he has to beat Big Priest himself.
That's also possible. You're not seeing tech cards in his list like Black Knight, Big Game Hunter, or Mind Control tech, which you might see more often on the ladder. And instead, he's gone with, I want a firm source of removal, and Naturalize is the only one that Druid has right now.
Because you have to think, why have they left my Druid up? Which person does that? And the answer is, I do that because I'm Tars.
I would do that. So I need to play against my lineup. Yeah. Exactly, yes.
And that's what he's doing. But what's happened, actually, he's run into Insom, who's just going to blast him with stuff.
The most value that Tars can get from a Naturalize against this mage would be Crystal Runner or a really good Firelands portal drop.
Right.
Maybe just a Mana Worm that's gotten out of hand in the early game.
Wow, that is out of hand.
But the last thing you want to do is give Secret Mage resources when the thing that they struggle most with is getting resources.
Yeah, it's the one thing that it does do. It just runs out. That's why this Bone Mare is an interesting inclusion. Just that extra little push, as long as you can keep something on the board. Of course, Mage, not the natural candidate for that. That's why you see it in Shaman and Paladin, because they can make minions happen. I said Shaman there, I've just cast one too many top 8 games today. I think we have seen Bone Mare in Shaman.
No, we have. We certainly have.
Not the start you'd really wanted in Insom, though. It's, you have got your Secret Down. Crystal Runner is going to be abusive next turn alongside the Arcane Intellect, but seems to be chugging along a little bit too slowly for now.
I'm sure we all have excessive amounts of experience with and against Jade Druid, but ramp in the early turns, get to Ultimate Infestation as soon as you possibly can, then you don't have to worry about committing so much of your ramp that you run out of resources, because Ultimate Infestation just solves that problem. If your opponent's not running Skulking Geist, which nobody is because you're just banning Druid in this format, then you can infinite Jade Idols, build up big golems, you win the game. Jade Druid is the best deck in the format for a reason.
Yeah, and the hand has got most of that stuff in it, and of course, the danger is the Spreading Plague. It's not so bad against minions like the Crystal Runner, etc., because you just power through them, miss a turn.
But it can be a big disruptor against smaller minions like a Babbling Book that's been thrown out there, or even these Arcanologists or Medivh's Valets. Makes it difficult for Insom to get through so much health of Taunt, and then a lot of damage is forced to stave off for another turn.
But talking of a lot of damage, we need to keep an eye on the damage in the hand of Insom right now.
It's adding up.
There's 12 from the Fireballs plus 3 from the Valet. That's 15. 5 more from the Firelands. That's 20 damage. That is loads.
And it just so
happened.
happened.
How do you want to use it?
It just so happened that the Naturalize actually was a great proc for Counterspell.
Sure.
In Tars's deck. Usually the Druid would have some trouble getting Counterspell off of the board because a lot of their really high value spells are very high mana cost spells as well. Just so happened that Tars had a pretty good counter that was going to be useless in this anyway.
I'm always interested when we see people on stream who we don't usually see, how they react. Insom's response to it is to just rock in his chair.
He's got that thinking face on. I like it. He seems pretty cool, pretty collected. We've seen Tars on stream before, but Insom is still a relative newcomer, at least to me.
Just needs pipe and slippers, and we could change him to some sort of English guy with that sort of posture, I think.
Could be right up your alley. But he's doing a fantastic job of continuously applying pressure. Tars is going to have to throw the Spreading Plague out maybe a little bit early, but it isn't often that Mage has a larger board than this anyway. They're not relying on wide board states to kill your opponent. It's bits of chip damage in the early game, maybe a couple of cheap Cabal Crystal Runners, get those in, and then Fireball Firelands is supposed to end the game.
Yeah, decision time now. I think you have to probably Firelands one of these just to generate the tempo, but this is why it's so annoying at Spreading Plague. You're putting so much damage into a 1/5. You can get through if you have the time. But I feel that it's going to be better to do it now. You need that extra minion presence.
Well, Spreading Plague will be receiving a balance change. It will be going from 5 mana to 6. But I don't think that even at 6 mana, you will stop seeing it.
Yeah, we'll
You're still going to see this card.
Unless Druid folds up and dies because Innervate only gets one crystal for some reason.
Innervate equals coin.
Yeah, unless something really weird happens that we haven't really projected, I think... I like it. I think that Druid will be obviously worse, but people say, oh, it will still be a good deck. Well, do we mind that? There's a difference between making it unbalanced and making it still a good deck. We don't have to nerf every single deck straight into the ground.
But one deck that will be significantly better against Jade Druid is this Secret
Yes, very much so. That extra turn here and there, the lack of Innovate will be huge. Innovate will just become a proc for counterspell, like you said, with his Naturalize.
It will. And Tars has managed to stabilize his life total up until this point, and he's rolling into some very powerful turns. Malfurion the Pestilent, when it comes down, obviously gives you 5 armor, and you'll probably want 2 1/5 taunts in this case, and then you can armor up for 3 every time you have 2 spare mana going forward. That is a fantastic anti-aggro tool.
It really is, and I think Insom here is a little unfortunate. He's going to go very wide because he's seen that spreading plague, but since that, Tars has picked up another one, so he's going to get really good value out of his second plague as well. We saw this in a previous match where a player just went all in after seeing a blizzard, and there's another blizzard in hand. But it's still right normally to not assume your opponent has both versions.
Sometimes you just cannot afford to play around unreasonable things for your opponent to have, but we're talking Jade Druid here. A lot of what they do is considered unreasonable.
And it's not going to be a disaster either, even this way.
No.
That damage from that Pyroblast means that Insom just doesn't have to do much more. He has to dodge Malfurion and Ultimate Infestation from happening because of the armor gain. But other than that, this damage is adding up. And Spreading Plague isn't going to be that great in this spot.
Well, you can run in one of the minions on your board into the taunt minion and then attempt to Spreading Plague, not knowing what the secret is. Obviously, we know that it's a counterspell. So Spreading Plague can't actually activate here, but Tars, is he willing to take that chance? He's seen one counterspell already.
And he knows there's 2 mirrors in the deck. The lists are open, so it's more likely to be a mirror. But his hand isn't really conducive to being able to play around stuff. He's just got a handful of expensive stuff. He's going to pick one and pick his poison.
Well, Insom actually, he did have an early mirror entity as well. It copied my paper, I believe. So it's a 1-in-1. It's a 50-50 shot. But Tars is not willing to take that chance. I think wisely so. He can still get the 1/5s on the board, stave off a good amount of damage. This is the much safer play.
Now he knows what he's up against. Yes. It's both of them. Another decision here for Insom. Do you want to fireball one of these down, make your mana worm nice and big? Or do you want to save that for going to face? You want to save it for going face, but can you afford to save it for going face? He
still has a good amount of burn damage left in the deck, but he's getting to the point where he's playing off of the top of his deck, and a lot of the cards that he has will be inefficient. You're going to be drawing Kirin Tor Mage after this. Not going to love that. What happens to Bone Mare when you don't have a minion on the board? Not much, just a 7 mana 5/5.
What happens to it? I was trying to think, oh my god, he's probably just like folds up or something, but yeah.
Just sits there, cries.
It's not so much of a mare, is it? You know, just sad mare.
All right, so Blossom's a great way to test for counterspell.
I mean, he knows what they are, so yeah.
It's a great way to proc the counterspell.
Sorry.
But you don't apologize. Call me on the stuff.
Canada, I'm supposed to apologize all the time to fit in.
It's French Canada.
Okay.
I hear it's different. I don't know for sure.
Sure. I'll go with that.
I don't know for sure.
Anyway, so yeah, you were saying about testing for counterspell.
Yeah, no, you want to obviously proc the counterspell with the Blossom, but you still have the mirror entity in the way. And any resources that you give your opponent are... It's not a good thing.
It's not. Insom out of stuff. Still got a little bit of time.
But Tars, as the Druid, will never run out of stuff.
Yeah, no-ish.
Okay, Glyph into another Pyroblast.
That seems good.
That would be it over 2 turns.
Frostbolt, not enough unless he can cast them both now.
He can.
He can, so that is 13.
Because the Frostbolt is discounted, so that is exactly what Insom needed. Yeah, he just needed 3 damage that was under 2 mana in this case.
And
he got it.
Was the last chance as well. That was just going to get out of hand from Tars there because of the nourish, plus the hero power is going to get him out of range. So yeah, picking up the Glyph, picking up the 2 mana.
Insom looking a little bit stressed now, but I'm sure feeling really good after that one. His strategy is starting to take shape. Jade Druid, while it is incredibly powerful and still has a decent shot against Secret Mage, you're bringing Secret Mage because you want it to beat Druid, so you're happy that it did its job.
The 2 Glyphs adding up for that 13 damage at the end there.
You really need to take into account that 2-mana discount. But as Tars, you can't. You know he's got 1 glyphed card in hand. You know it is reduced by 2 mana, but there's no way for you to be able to play around the possibility that it's Pyroblast.
But in fairness, a Firelands went into one of the 1/5s. I think a Fireball went into a 3/6.
Something like 10 damage from the Mana
There's a lot
Worm,
of damage was already sucked up, so
it was.
He's allowed to have some damage to go to face at some point. All right, we're going to have the Quest Mage of Tars versus the Secret Mage of Insom in the quarterfinals of Insomnia. Insomnia? We're at DreamHack today.
Rindo, you okay? You holding up?
I've not been fired yet. Carry on.
Good point. Good point. And yes, Tars does have the really unique Giants variant of the Quest Mage build. But did he go ahead and throw away his quest?
Yes.
He mulliganed the quest. Okay. So that's Tars saying the quest is not his win condition. The Giants on their own are. And that makes a lot of sense because Insom is going to be putting Tars down to a very low life total very quickly. That means Molten Giant will be active and you ideally will protect your life total via Ice Block and Ice Barrier, then freeze down the board and keep yourself safe, but low enough that you can play your Molten Giants, just win that way.
Yeah, this version, it has got more ways of winning without the quest than the other version, but and we saw Tars even on the first day. He won that first game of the whole tournament by just using the quest as tempo rather than an actual win condition as such. I mean, with 1 Giant or 1 Alexstrasza or something, it was a very small board. And he's just a big believer in playing this deck in totally different ways to how you would imagine, basically. That's all Tars does.
It keeps you on your toes, but that Alexstrasza is a good point as well. If Insom gets Tars down to a low life total, Tars can play free Molten Giants and Alexstrasza himself defensively. That's a big swing turn. That's handlock levels of swing turns from back in the day. But now we're just seeing it in Mage.
Yeah, Secret Mage also has very little way of dealing with big minions unless they can get that mirror to stick. Just nothing they can do about 8/8s. They're too busy using their resources, killing you. We saw how hard it was to get through some 1/5s, let alone 8/8s. But it's all about the time game. Tars have got to get those costs reduced significantly.
Insom had the option to take Mana Bind. It wasn't a very good glyph by any means, but he ended up going with Frozen Clone. It's a new one from Knights of the Frozen Throne. When your opponent plays a minion, add 2 copies of it to your hand. So he's just trying to spread out the resources that he has, give himself some more minion value. Could pay off, could backfire, but he's thinking it's a better shot than taking Mana Bind.
And this is Insom just making this huge board going into those before the freeze turns become a thing. So trying to just get as much damage out there. And again, this will be his strategy that he came into this tournament with, is to target the slower decks. Not necessarily Quest Mage, but Priest being something obviously he'll be targeting with this sort of lineup. And going pretty well for him. Both players leaving Druid up is still totally throwing me at this point.
It's fantastic that they ran into each other because it's not the same strategy, but they've got some similar ideas going on here as far as leave Druid up, try to target it, though they've done it in very, very different ways.
Yeah, and those ways have to interact with each other, and suddenly you're like, oh, well, what do we do?
I've thought of how my strategy works against the A strategy, but how does my B strategy work against his B strategy?
And I must admit, in those situations, all things being equal, Tars is one of the very few people in the world who would like that situation. I don't think things are equal here, though. I think Insom's lineup is just good in this mirror, in this sort of head-to-head environment. But Tars will be doing all he can to prove me wrong. He's done it many times before. 50 DreamHack wins he's had now.
That's incredible.
That's a lot. Most people haven't even played 50 DreamHack matches. It's a lot of DreamHacks.
I mean, you've got 9 Swiss rounds.
Yes, that's sort of 5.
If you even play through all the Swiss rounds and don't get to the top 16, then...
That's a lot. And he's won 50.
That's incredible.
Yeah. The guy's played a lot of Hearthstone. At decent win rates, like mid-60s win rates.
All right, so Insom has picked up Kabbalist Tome off of the Babbling Book. That's good because he will just need some additional resources in this game to be able to actually get the pressure to win. But now he knows that Tars' game plan is not quest completion.
Right.
So, I don't know. Can you afford to play around Giants as this style of mage, I think you just go for it and hope that they don't have it. Tars is expending a lot of burn onto these small minions. Fireball on Sorcerer's Apprentice, Fire lands on a 2/2. That's unusual.
Insom making a note that I suspect he's counting how many spells Tars has played, so he can keep a track of the Arcane Giants without having to, you know, make a mistake when it really matters. Good to see that sort of level of play from someone we don't see much of.
You are allowed paper and pen, you're allowed to take notes, and when you get that opportunity, some people, it's just not their style, but generally you should take advantage of it.
It's going to be huge in this matchup, especially with that quest being thrown, to know exactly when to expect these Giants. If you know you can kill them next turn without worrying about the Giants, etc.
Okay, Simulacrum, Frost Nova, and Polymorph. Frost Nova, not going to be terrible, actually. If a couple of Giants come out and you need to stall yourself a turn, maybe to find some burn off the top. Actually, Polymorph, not bad either. You can simply use it as a kill on a Giant. So all in all, could have been a much worse Cabalist Tome.
Yeah, there aren't many threats in Tars' deck. There's an Alexstrasza, there's 3 Giants, not a lot else going on beyond that. And so a Polymorph gets rid of like a quarter of the threats.
You're right, he does only have 2 Arcane and 1 Molten Giant.
Wow. Alongside
an Eater of Secrets. That's actually really...
Yeah, it's relevant.
That's very relevant.
Yeah.
That's very relevant. And he has a mana bind of his own. Tars' strategy just continuously surprises me. It's really unique.
And it has worked well. Whenever we've seen him, he's not been getting lucky in these matchups. He's just beating people's lineups with his lineup decision.
It's so weird, though. It's so weird. I love it.
The level of confidence you have to say that to target a whole lineup like he's doing, he's targeting Druid, Priest +1.
Yes.
You have to be. We all knew this tournament was going to be a bit like that, but nobody knew the level of scale. And Tars has gone all in on. It's going to be a lot of it, and he was bang on.
So Insom just trying to take this game as quickly as he possibly can. Tars desperately slowing it down.
There must be a way.
Needs to play enough spells that he can actually get to his Arcane Giants. Needs to get low, but not low enough that he's actually dead. And right now he doesn't have Ice Block, doesn't have Alexstrasza. So the threat of dying is very real.
It is indeed very real. Not a lot he can do at the moment. Insom so close to winning game 2.
You don't want to throw down Frozen Clone because you don't want to be overdrawn and burn a valuable piece of your own burn.
He's going to have a lot of chances to pick up that last bit of damage as well. Not used that much yet. I feel like you can...
Well, you could actually play it this turn, because then you're sitting at 7.
Yeah.
If Tars plays something, then you go up to 9, you draw to 10.
Yeah. Tars has nothing that can really help you, though. He saved that coin. That'd be pretty bleak. But Tars has to deal with everything here.
Ghastly Conjurer means you get a mirror image. So it could, in theory, soak up these 2 attacks. But leaving a Sorcerer's Apprentice on the board is really risky. Now you're opening up a whole different path to your own death.
Yeah, Tars needs to, and this is what Tars is good at, needs to construct the win condition. How do I win this game and the games that I win? There aren't many of them, but I do win some here. And work backwards.
Yeah.
Which is the chain that gets me there? It's really obvious when you work forwards, like, oh, let's just stop from dying. But you've got to stop yourself from dying and take some risks along the way, or you're just going to die to other stuff.
Okay, so 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Yep.
Ooh, 1 off for Insom.
There's no heal in Tars' deck that I'm missing apart from Alexstrasza, right? That's the thing to be worried of.
Nope, he has the Alexstrasza, and then, of course, he has 2 copies of Ice Block.
So...
And then 2 Cabalist Tomes. So maybe you find additional Ice Blocks, Ice Barriers.
Ice Barriers. So if you put him to 1 and then just threaten to keep pinging him, the only threat is coin Alexstrasza here that could ruin your day. And Insom has to make that decision now.
But if you coin Alexstrasza, then Insom is left with a Vilespine Slayer on the board. Could still have any number of burn cards in hand. We've seen Firelands and Fireball from Tars, and then a Firelands from Insom last turn.
Insom taking his time. I say this all the time when it's new players that we haven't seen much of. Anyone who's willing to take their time in these environments definitely tends to do better than someone who doesn't first time out.
Yeah, I think I would probably be going in on some secrets this turn. I like the Kirin Torbage counterspell. And then the Cabal again. Although you don't want to put down the counterspell when you know your opponent has coin in hand.
Right.
So that's probably why he's so hesitant to actually play this secret. He also knows his opponent has Eater of Secrets in the deck.
Yep.
But more so, you want to get value from the counterspell, and the coin is the least valuable target that you know your opponent has in hand.
So this is the way of playing around the Alexstrasza mess as well. You just put them to 10 and then kill them from 10.
And if you manage to Frozen Clone an Alex, well, that's pretty good. But Tars would need to put an ice block up here or Alexstrasza and still be dead.
And still be dead.
What can he do? Blizzard can lock down the board, but Insom has the 10 from hand. Kabbalist Tome, hope for ice block, coin into it.
Yeah,
or counterspell. Counterspell would do it too.
will recognise this danger as well. The last turn was kind of strange from Insom. So it screams Fireball Frostbolt.
Okay, he picks up the glyph.
Still got a chance.
Could be counterspell, could be ice block. Both would save him. Oh, he gets it. Snap picks that ice block.
We saw
points
you.
It out. You don't even need to see anything else. Complete tunnel vision onto the exact card you wanted to see. So now Tars gets one more turn. His Arcane Giants are down to 1 mana. His Molten is at 5. But he would need a turn after that.
But tempo-wise, he has the Blizzards, etc. Yeah, he needs to not die in the process.
And Insom has that Frost Nova to lock down the Giants. So he would need a big Giant turn and then to not die for 2 additional turns.
Rip, I think. But Tars has surprised us more than once already with his deck. He is a master of playing this deck. I mean, you can draw a block. You're allowed to. There's 2 of them in there. There's not that many cards to go.
I don't know if he could have actually gotten Time Warp at this point off of the Open the Way Gate quest.
Yeah, I've seen him lose one before when he's pulling the quest away. And we're like, well, maybe his only chance is to Time Warp. Maybe it's a case of you're so unfavored, you might as well try to complete the quest anyway. Because
if you do manage to complete the quest, then you get Giants and the attack in the same turn.
Yeah.
He picks up the ice block off the top, though.
And the crowd goes wild. They like that ice block out there.
Seemingly for the ice block, they are cheering. All right, well, I think, yeah, you got Giants, you've got block. And very smart playing the Molten Giant first. Playing around even the remote possibility of Frozen Clone and doing it very successfully. Got
like 70 mana of value in his hand. That card just gave him 50 mana of value. That's how it works, right?
Yes, that's how it works. The most valuable Frozen Clone we have ever seen.
Well, he's managed to get enough damage down there with a block up.
But he's going to need to get another block. He'll need to find the other block off the top.
Well, there's no block up for Insom. He doesn't have that in his deck.
But he's got the Frost Nova in hand.
He has the Frost Nova in hand. So Tars still finding ways to put up lethals, but...
Insom able to check him. So Insom can pop block this turn with just a hero power. Frost Nova, lock down the Giants for this turn. Can put up Counterspell. Maybe try to trip up Tars.
Yeah. You need Mass Dispel for your own side. The card has made.
There used to be a minion that did it. No, Wailing Soul.
Yeah.
Wailing Soul.
Wow.
Yeah.
That was a card.
It was.
That never got played.
Not a good one, but I find myself wishing I had it in a lot of situations now.
Okay, so here's the bit we expected. Freezes at the board. Going to proc the block, presumably.
Yep. Gotta remember that part. Okay. So now Tars needs... Block off the top would be the best possible scenario.
Come on, show us. Babbling Book into block.
Oh dear.
Stuff nightmares, dreams, and legends are made of.
No,
he gets it.
Arcane Explosion. That is not going to do it, and there's no, Tars doesn't have Mindbreaker in his hand, so he can't keep Insom from using his hero power this turn.
He found a way to get a lethal damage at least on the board, even in that game. What is happening?
It was so close. He needed one more turn. He ripped the block off of the glyph. He got the block off the top. If he'd had that third block, that may have been his game, but still wasn't good enough. And now Insom is only one win away from making it to the semifinals with a strategy that we have not seen yet in this tournament, and he's making beautiful work of Tars's lineup.
Yeah, he's going to take his Secret Mage, his Druid, and his aggressive Paladin into this Priest. Not over yet because it's Priest, but it's not normal Priest.
Oh, it's not.
Big Priest, which means that I think the aggro decks can just get this done sometimes.
It is most likely that the aggro decks will have a good aggro opener and Tars will whiff, but Big Priest has a good amount of early interaction. That's what it seeks to do. You want to remove your opponent's early build, and then you ideally get Barnes on 4, Obsidian statues, Yasharaj, Lich King, Ysera if you're running it, and overwhelm them with the power of your minions on those early turns. But you're gonna need to find Shadow Word Pain, Shadow Word Horror, Greater Healing Potion, something to keep you alive to get to that point where you can even interact.
Barnes is the first piece of the puzzle. You're not winning without that Barnes in this matchup, I don't think. The Obsidian statues are so key. They take away so much of the tempo from the tempo mage. And if Tars draws Barnes 3 games in a row, maybe he can get this done.
I certainly have never done it myself.
Ever drawn Barnes.
I've gotten him once or twice, but never 3 times in a row. But if Tars is going to do it, now will be the time. Goes for Forbidden Shaping instead of the Shadow Word Horror. Yes, Forbidden Shaping is at its most valuable when you can play it for between 8 and 10 mana. You can also drop it on 3 or 4.
Yeah, and people forget that, I think. Why do you need it as a 10-drop? Just urgently need right now a 3/3 minion.
Yeah, if you can turn it into a 3/3 or a 3/4, it's usually good enough, but it is going to get counterspelled. Insom finding maybe not the perfect target for the counterspell there, but it is going to be good enough.
I'd like to see what the minion would have been, just to make people's dreams even more crushed.
How about Mirage Caller?
Sure, thank you. See, now I'm thirsty.
Wouldn't have even been good enough to kill the Kirin Tor Mage. Doesn't matter. What's it gonna be? Okay.
The Lich King.
And he pulls Obliterate. I don't think that's the card you were looking for. Death Coil would have been a lot better.
Okay. Well, Lich King is just going to be the Lich Ping by the look of this. And leave the board pretty rapidly.
Yeah, so Obliterate is the Death Knight card that kills a minion and you take damage equal to the minion's health.
Okay. Which is awkward in this matchup.
Yes. You want to kill their minions, but you don't want to kill yourself in the process. 1
charge weapon. Basically.
Yeah.
Kind of. Okay, 22 damage and 22 health and falling.
Yeah, Death Coil or Death and Decay actually would have been the best possible choice here. But the Eternal Servitude going to bring back the Lich King, and now we've got our full 8/8 Arthas. Doom Pact actually could be okay. It's going to destroy every minion on board, and you burn cards on the top of your deck equal to the number of minions killed. Which isn't relevant because this
game will be over. Unless you burn, randomly burn your stuff.
Right. Tars has most of the tools that he needs right now, other than maybe a Greater Healing Potion. Not a lot of board interaction he's actually going to need to do going forward. Most of the threats come in the form of Insom's 1st through 5th turn.
Right.
Now that we've reached the 5th turn, most of the threats are going to be burned from here on out.
It's quite difficult to deal with, oddly enough, a Lich King on turn 5. This is why you ban Druid, kids.
Oh. That's pretty good.
It is. And just for a second, I wondered if he could point and face, but I think there's double Greater Healing Potion in this deck, so you can't burn all your burn out like that.
Plus, the longer you leave the Lich King up, the more likely it is that your opponent gets the Death Knight cards that they are looking for.
Indeed. That poor book has been silenced from asking to cast spells.
But he just wants to cast a spell.
That's all he wants.
Poor guy.
Yeah.
All right, so still working with some annoying early game minions, and Tars doesn't have any AoE yet other than that Doom Pact in hand. But Insom doesn't know to play around that. It could be Frostmourne for all we know. It could be Anti-Magic Shell.
Frostmourne, what a card.
Could be Army of the Dead.
Excuse me.
Oh.
Army of the Dead sucks.
It does, but also if he just hits
bad.
the right stuff.
I mean, yeah, but you've got Yasharaj and Obsidian statue in hand, and you've already seen...
it would be bad.
Yeah. There's still Lich King in deck, another Obsidian statue. Crazy potential, but not going to be seeing it this time around, at least not yet.
Insom not needing to get much damage through with these minions, but he may never get any more damage at all through with them. It's going to be really difficult. This is how the big priest is built.
Tars is probably starting to feel a little bit comfortable, knowing he's got Obsidian statue coming up, which can give him some additional health, and knowing that he's already seen the natural copy of Fireball from Insom's hand. Insom wisely played the Fireball that he had in hand in deck naturally, and not the one that was generated from the book.
Second Crystal Runner is going to enable him to put down 2 threats if he wants to. He has just seen the Dragonfire Potion.
I think that's actually a really good bait by Tars. You've seen Dragonfire. Yes, there are 2 in Tars's deck. But if Insom has the threats in hand, he may just need to go for them now. And then you've got the Doom Pack to follow up. Just for clarification, Tars only has the 1 copy of Greater Healing Potion in the deck.
Oh, okay.
And he's also running a copy of Mass Dispel. And he has no copies of Silence.
Okay.
Yeah.
So just the 1. Makes quite a big difference, actually. It makes it a lot more interesting if you want to go for it or not.
You can Shadow Visions into them, although I think we've already seen 1 copy of Shadow Visions in the opening hand.
Yep.
So your shots at finding significant healing are dwindling.
The amount of damage in the Mage's hand is still significant enough to give him a chance.
You're looking at 11 burn just in hand over 2 turns, and 7 power on the board right now. So that does equal up to 18 if Tars doesn't interact with anything. We know that's not going to happen.
Yeah, and then the Obsidian should start to slow the problem down, and then it's going to be all about, it's always all about what cards you draw, but then it's going to be, the strategy is going to be determined by the way Insom picks up burn or minions as to whether he needs to kill the Obsidian or maybe just shut his eyes and launch.
Just ignore the possibilities.
Tars making sure, it's like the anti-hunter, make sure you weave in that hero power every single turn.
He did end up burning Power Word Shield and Dragonfire Potion. Not terrible. That second Dragonfire Potion would have been nice, but you've already seen most of the minions in Insom's deck. Other than that second Crystal Runner, I think is the biggest threat left.
Yeah, Crystal Runner's a reasonable way to challenge the Obsidian as well. Just because it survives, you only give them the 4 health and you get to kill it off with 1 burn spell. As opposed to having to Firelands it, which is going to cost you 7. Yeah, just get this over with now, I guess. But I prefer the Crystal Runner. It's a difficult turn.
Faceless Manipulator. That's a low roll off of the Firelands portal. And Insom actually has 2 copies of Bone Mare in the list that we just have not seen yet.
Yeah, I'm forgetting those. I remembered them at the start, and it's just, okay.
We haven't seen them.
Because they're really, really relevant right now. They would swing this game straight around, which is why they're in the deck, oddly enough.
So the only thing that could really kill Tars if he plays Obsidian Statue would be a natural Fireball, a generated Fireball, and a Frostbolt.
Okay.
He's seen 1 natural Fireball already, but he hasn't seen the book card. So I'm thinking he feels pretty safe just to go with this Obsidian Statue.
Yeah. And, I mean, if you don't do it now, it just gets worse, not better.
Yeah.
That situation is not going to improve over time.
It's true. If Insom has the burn to kill the statue, though, you don't gain any of the health.
But then if he's got the burn to kill the statue, you're probably in trouble already.
Yeah. And the statue does have the death rattle, meaning that 1 of the minions on the board will die.
Yeah, this card's kind of good.
It's a really, really stupid good card. So he decides to roll with the Shadow Essence, taking a bit of a risky line. That could have been Ysera, and then you would be in trouble. But he pulled out the Obsidian Statue and got to heal as well.
All right. Plenty of damage on board, but no more burn in hand. Unable to get down the mirror, which was a shame. That would have been really nice. Or is there a mirror already there? Does that mean they will game?
There is a mirror already there, which is why we can't play the other one.
That's why we don't play the mirror. I'm good at this.
Proud of you. All right, so the second Obsidian Statue has been picked up. We've seen 1 Eternal Servitude and 1 Shadow Essence, so Tars's generation is dwindling a little bit, but now you've got the mana to play the threats in your hand. You don't need to summon them from deck via other methods.
Yeah, need to get damage though, otherwise this healing is just going to get out of hand just through the priest's natural healing, let alone all the nonsense he might draw into. Again, making sure to pick away. I'm surprised he hasn't gone with this forbidden shaping at some point. He obviously has a plan. Maybe he wants to get rid of a counter spell with it later. Bone Mare, you're late. Sad Mare.
You're late. You're late. That's another card. A lot of underwhelming Bone Mares in this tournament. And Tars has easy answers for days. He's getting out of range of anything that Insom can throw at him. And now Insom desperately needs to find his arcane intellects. He needs additional resources. Primordial Glyph into Kabbalist Tome would be phenomenal here. But he's looking low on anything to actually be able to do. Can't even develop anything this turn.
Tars' patience is really paying off here. He's not bothered worrying too much about, hey, I've got all this big stuff going on. He knows he's going to backfire if he does it.
Yeah.
Just patiently surviving and slowly getting into this.
I mean, Tars, his back is against the wall, right? He's down 0-2. Needs to calculate every point of damage at every turn that Insom could possibly have. 12 is a scary area for Priest to be in against Mage normally. But when you've seen 2 fireballs, you're feeling a little bit more secure.
And he wins this game by finding the healing potion.
Yes.
Just kill everything that Insom plays, hope Insom doesn't draw too much burn, and heal yourself.
You do know that Insom has Counterspell and Mirror Entity active.
So that's why he's been saving the shaping. He wants to get it counterspelled.
But that also means that you cannot... Oh, that's actually a really awesome interaction. So Forbidden Shaping normally uses the remainder of your mana, but when it gets counterspelled, it doesn't.
Counters the 0. That's why we don't see what card would it be, because it doesn't actually use the mana.
Uh-huh.
Lich King getting more stuff. Insom needs to... So what he's got to work out is if he can win this game ever with a minion. If he can't, then this lot has to be saved to go face.
He has very few minions left.
I feel if he fireballs this Lich King, he can never win the game of Hearthstone.
Yeah. I think he's got 1 Firelands left. Maybe you top deck that, and over 2 turns you can win.
I mean, he also can just fireball face now.
He can. And then you're leaving yourself open to losing to Death Coil off the Lich King, which can give them 5 health, Greater Healing Potion, but you're losing Greater Healing Potion no matter what.
Yeah, I actually think that fireball face might be correct here.
I think you need to push and you need to hope that you pick up, Glyph off the top for Pyro or Firelands Portal. If you fireball the Lich King, I don't think you have the damage.
Don't like it. I think you've just got to try and get lucky over the next 3 turns rather than try this control. He disagrees. He feels he can get recurring damage more than 6 with minions in this game.
This is him putting faith in 2nd copy of Bone Mare. I believe there's 1 more copy of Kirin Mage, maybe?
Yeah, sure.
That's about it.
Oh, you've got your own 4/8 now?
Yeah, it's pretty good.
But
right, there's the glyph
there's
off
the
the
glyph.
top. If he would have had the damage off of this, he is going to be kicking himself. Okay, so he would have gone face for 6.
I mean, last time if he went for it, he could have even frostbolted face. So he could have put Tars down to low.
It wouldn't have been guaranteed, but the arcane missiles meant that there's a chance. It still may just be the pick, actually. You've got another mirror entity.
So if all 3 go face, you probably lose, but it does 9. If all 3 go into the minion, it's actually a good result.
Well, if 3 go face, that's 9. You can frostbolt after. You're actually 1 mana and 1 damage off lethal.
And if 3 go into the minion, maybe that works.
Your Obsidian statue dies in the process, though.
Yeah.
Because of the death rattle.
Yeah.
It's tough. I mean, maybe you do it, hope 3 go face, and then hope again that you draw something off the top.
Yeah, I think that means that... Oh, that's...
So he would have had... It would have been like he had an additional fireball off of the glyph.
Yep.
This is going to heal Tars for 4, though.
I feel that fireball face last turn might have won this game of Hearthstone. Again, there would have been 2 minions, though, so there would have been less of those missiles going face.
Yeah, that's true.
Lich King would still be there.
That's true. You would have the 5/5 up.
But I feel like that would have given him 1 or 2.
He's
scared of that healing potion.
It's hard to know, because Tars may have changed his game plan. He may have done something different last turn. He would have probably healed face instead of just playing the Obsidian statue.
And also, it's okay for us. We can see there's no healing potion, but actually Tars is a long way through his deck. It's perfectly reasonable to think that he's there.
So second Eternal Servitude going to give the third or fourth Lich King of the game.
That's a lot of Lich King.
Fourth Lich King of the game. And we have another Obliterate, I believe. Death Coil grabs a minion from your opponent's deck, puts it in your hand. That's where the Bone Mare came from. But that's one of the only remaining threats in Insom's deck, now not in his deck.
Now not in his deck. If he loses this, he's still got 2 more goes at it. One of which will be with Druid. New class, seen today.
Jade Druid against Silence Priest, or against Easy Big Priest, excuse me, is if Easy Priest rolls very high, they will win.
Yeah.
But the Jade Druid can simply remove everything that they play.
Druid, that class known for its removal.
They can kill everything that the Big Priest plays, and then they can just win.
That famous removal class of Druid.
You have so much golem generation that you don't run out of minions, but they do.
Seems good. Okay.
Insom's still sitting at 30, but if he can't find the burn, then it doesn't matter what his health total is, he will not win this game.
How has Tars played 9 rounds of Swiss of this and still able to like walk and talk and stand up and stuff?
This deck, a lot of people really, really hate it. I like the deck. You can have a lot of really crazy situations come about from the deck, a lot of unfair situations, but it at least keeps things interesting.
You have to do this straight after playing Quest Mage.
I think this is right up Tars' alley. You know, I think he just loves this kind of strategy.
You just get punched in the head a few times. It's like, right, get up, do it again, something different, punch you with something else.
He just loves big minions.
He really does. Insom still plugging away. If Tars forgets to heal, Fireball would be lethal. Don't think Tars is going to forget to heal.
Is there a Fireball left in the deck? We saw one from Book, we saw one natural copy. There may be one left.
Tars has played this game so patiently throughout. He's got around every single secret. He's just not even tried to win the game. He realized that by not losing, he would win the game.
Yeah, if Insom finds the other Fireball, if it's there, it will now not be enough. So he had a couple of turns in there where maybe he could have made it happen still. But now with the Death Coil in hand, that's going to be 5 additional health. Tars won't even need to find the Greater Healing Potion. And as I say this, I may eat my words. Nope.
Words are safe.
Well, I mean, if you mana bind to Death Coil, then you have 5 damage. So it's net 0, essentially.
It's going to be 2-1, I think we can say. Now, we can't say because there's crazy effects in play. But and some still being pretty comfortable as well. Tars does always look like he's enjoying himself, it must be said.
He does.
I mean, you can't play all that Hearthstone and not enjoy yourself, but for some of the professionals, they sometimes treat it like a job. Tars just treat it like having fun with the world.
Like, I think you can talk to a lot of people who play a lot of Hearthstone, and they may not have as much fun as you would hope.
But Tars, in particular, is a guy who absolutely adores this game.
He really
everything
does.
about it.
All right,
enjoys the
procking.
community.
Assuming, you know, it may be counterspell, testing for that with Shadow Word Pain, but getting the knowledge that it is mana bind, and he can just go ahead and kill Insom.
When the end actually came, it came really, really fast.
Very abruptly.
Eliminating one threat at a time very, very carefully to get himself back into this match at 2-1.
All right, but he now has to complete the reverse with this big priest build. Insom's warrior is banned. His mage is now out of the way, so he's left with Paladin and Druid. Paladin is a very, very fast deck, very difficult for priest to deal with. If you get large boards of Murlocs and then buff the health or put Divine Shield on them, Dragonfire Potion then often is not effective. So I think he may go for the Paladin first, as the Jade Druid can just get high rolled out of the game completely, whereas the Paladin has a better shot if, for instance, Tars has another Barnes on 4.
It's not the totally all-in build of the Paladin. There is still a Tyrion, a couple of Bone Mares, a couple of Spite Ridge, but it's still a fast build. Grimscale Chum defining it, really.
All right, well, we are wrong. Insom is going to go with the Jade Druid, a lot more resilient against the early removal from Tars, but a lot more threatened by the big minions.
And not the start he was looking for. I mean, turn one that he was looking for, but no ramp, anything else hanging on here.
And unlike Tars, Insom is not playing 2 copies of Naturalize.
Oh, no.
Deck. So he really cannot kill a turn 5 Obsidian statue from, you know, Barnes on 4 Eternal Servitude.
He does have Black Knight.
He does.
Which is, he's got Black Knight, Medivh, Big Game Hunter.
And Mind Control Tech. This almost looks to me like a ladder build.
It does. It looks like a ladder build.
Very much like a ladder build. This is very close to what I was actually running on ladder last season. You play Mind Control Tech for the mirror, actually. Really good against other Jade Druids. And if you're not banning Jade Druid, you're going to want to tech against it. That's why you've got these tech choices.
Yeah, and it's fair enough if it's hard to envisage why somebody would leave up your Jade Druid. Take a ladder build, cover all bases. It's never going to be that bad.
Yeah.
Playing this on curve, I'd like to see this. I mean, it's obvious, but the sort of mistake people make under pressure is like, must get all the value, must not look stupid. It's 3-3 for 3. Get that tempo, smash people in the head.
Got to consider your matchup, right? When is Tars going to have 4 minions on board? He's likely just going to have 1 or 2 that are going to kill you. And MC Tech will be a 3-3 that you could have played but never did. But that Wild Growth off the top is going to be really nice for Insom. He can Aya on 6, or he can elect to Nourish for mana and just get to Ultimate Infestation as fast as druidly possible.
As fast as druidly possible.
I was going to say humanly possible, but druids and humans are... Humans don't get to UI as fast.
They don't.
Druids get there very quick.
Yeah, UI confuses me, and I'm a human.
Yeah, well, there's Innervate, so...
He did resist the urge last turn to play Fandral into a potential Nourish the turn after. Sometimes that would be tempting. It would have probably been blown out.
You can Aya this turn, Fandral, Innervate, Nourish next turn, and then you roll into
I think that's where you
UI.
go with this. Fandral Nourish is not quite the game-winning thing it used to be, but it's still very, very strong.
You don't run the risk of overdrawing even with the Nourish for mana end cards, followed by the Ultimate Infestation, because
and in some
Druids
regards,
can just
who
do
cares?
that now.
Yeah, and even if you do, I'm going to overdraw one of my Druid cards. I've still got 10 Druid cards. I'm fine.
The thing is, he's played the first Jade Idol already, so if he does burn that second Jade Idol, that could potentially be horrible, but we're not anywhere near that point yet, so... Oh...
Shadow Essence into Barnes.
Oh, it's painful. Yeah. That is the worst possible outcome in any situation.
Very poor here, and Insom rightly just having a look at this. There's so many fantastic options for him here. I think he's got every chance of just squeaking this through.
Had this from Tars been any other minion, Yashiraj may have just won him the game. Obsidian Statue, a little underwhelming, but you've got Eternal Servitude next turn to bring it back. Barnes, I think, may have just lost him this game. Insom can even play Jade Idol and shuffle it while playing one this turn because of the Fandral on board.
So why not? I think you do it. He's obviously a little bit concerned about the blowout from the Dragonfire Potion, but it's fine.
When you're going into turn 10, when your opponent only has 6 mana,
and you're about to refill your hand,
and you're about to draw 5 cards, gain 5 armor, play a 5/5, and deal 5 damage, and Dragonfire leaves you with a 4/4 on the board, you're not worried.
You're not?
Nope.
I'm going to take your word for that.
Nope. I can tell you from experience, you're not worried.
There's the 4/4, and here comes the 5/5, and the 5, and the 5, and the other 5.
I think there's like a theme.
Actually, I mean, I'm saying all that. Bone Mare and hit you in the face is something worth looking at. And then just make 5 things.
Is there ever value to Behemoth Swipe and then
I mean,
try to kill you next turn?
His hand is actually insanely good without the UI right now, so it's definitely worth considering. But
you can just UI this turn. You're still putting a 5/5 on board. You're dealing the 5 damage right away, and then you're giving yourself more resources to work with next turn.
And more information, etc. So I agree with you. I think UI there is correct, but I can entirely see why he chose to do this.
It's arguable, right? You just saw 1 Dragonfire.
Also, if you get your minions on the board, as many as possible before the taunts come to play, the UI can go over the top of the taunts and hit you in the face for 5 anytime.
It can. It can, but you've also got double swipe, which is just more damage than UI. You're working with an abundance of burn here, which is not something that you can usually say about Druid. We're not living in pre-Knights at the Frozen Throne times, though.
Not anymore. And now it's time to do the 5s.
You can also Jade Idol and Bone Mare at hero power. You shuffled with Fandral, so you've got 2 more copies in deck. Would you rather just have 2 more giant minions on board?
I mean, he wanted that last turn, so I don't see what's changed, but maybe he's had time to see how it looked last time. I thought, let's just draw a load of cards.
I think having 5 more cards next turn, 6 more on the draw could be potentially beneficial.
Yep. Tars does have this Barnes attempt here. We'll get some sort of taunty.
He needs something that he...
Oh.
He can bring back 2 Ysera's next turn with Eternal Servitude, but I think he may have actually rather have had Obsidian Statue here. Yashiraj, of course, is always going to be the best outcome. May have actually just needed Yashiraj, because you can bring back 2 10-10s next turn and threaten lethal on the backswing.
Like you do.
Yeah. But now we've gotten Barnes from Shadow Essence and Ysera off of the Barnes.
You've got to feel sorry for Druid sometimes. Like, all these choices must give you headaches.
Oh,
How do I win the game in this position?
Yeah, that's what I worry about when I go to sleep at night. Druid has too many choices. Poor them.
This sounds like jealousy to me.
I feel nothing.
So, Tar's still hanging in here. He came to this tournament expecting to leave Druid up, so it's a matchup he's comfortable with.
It's so risky. It's so... I cannot emphasize enough. Even if you are hard targeting Druid, you can only counter it to an extent. And that extent may be a 5 to 10% better chance at winning. It is still not going to be good enough.
I mean, the argument has always been, as long as ban formats have been around, that Druid has innovate. It's never far behind anything. That argument may stop soon, but for now, the argument has always been, even if you hard target Druid, you've still got 45, 45, 45 against you or something.
Yeah, it just, if I was going to bring a lineup targeting Druid, I think I would have done it the way that Insom did. I would have gone the route of very, very aggressive.
And then not bring Prix? Yeah, okay.
I still may have brought Prix. I don't know. Hard to deny the best decks in the format.
Tars doesn't care. But he cares. He acknowledges they are the best decks and then just beats them.
Black Knight would be really nice for Insom right now, but he does not have it yet. Still, however, does have Black Knight and BGH in the deck, as well as Medivh the Guardian. So a lot more generation and a lot of large minion counters left for him.
Yeah, just in case he needs any more value. And I'm really glad I haven't had to cast Druid more than once or twice, because I'd have run out of sarcastic phrases.
Okay, correct me if I'm wrong. Does he have 1 Jade Idol left, or was that it? He shuffled 3 with Fandral.
I think that was it, but...
He shuffled 3 with the Fandral. He just played 2. Did he play 1
He played 1 on turn 1.
I think he still had the 1 left in hand. So there may be 1 left in the deck.
Okay.
Because he had the option to Jade Idol Bone Mare and instead used UI. So I think there is 1 left. So he's going to want to shuffle that last one.
He may choose not to. Like, seriously.
Does he even have to? Like, yeah, you want to, because...
That's why I wouldn't be surprised. When you asked, I'm like, I wouldn't even be surprised if he didn't and he just went out there.
If something crazy happens, that Jade Idol is your failsafe.
Yeah.
But Tars is down to 12. You've got 20 power on board. I don't think anything crazy is going to happen.
Doesn't look that way, of course. The Obsidian is insane. How silly is this card?
Oh, this card's phenomenal. When this was first released and some people were questioning it, it just, even if it didn't have the death rattle, I think Prix would still have good reason to play.
Right.
Like, you still just have a 9-mana 4/8 taunt with lifesteal.
I mean, the meta at the time of release, in fairness, was everybody plays Pirates.
It was.
So, Pirates are pretty good against a 4/8 that costs 9.
Yeah, it's too heavy.
All right, well, that's a board clear.
But it's turned out to be very good and makes an archetype like this possible.
So the best way to do this for Insom, let's see how he goes about it.
You're running the risk of your big minions on board dying, so you want to dilute that pool. Mire Keeper's one way to do it.
It's a really good idea. He's going to go wide with it and, as you say, dilute the pool. I like that.
I could see him play the Jade Spirit as well. You may actually, nah, just kill one first.
Does he have any potential lethals here?
You're adding the 2-3 to the board, the 9-9 sticking. If the 8-8 goes in and like the 2-2 dies, then you've got the 7-7 and your hero power. No, no, absolutely not, because Tars is going to be healing minimum 8.
Yeah, you needed the swipe and Wrath and stuff.
Yeah.
This is a much better play anyway, because Tars is running out of ways to kill these massive Jades. And you still have a handful of stuff because you're a Druid. It's fine.
Okay, so 2 of the bigger minions were taken off board, but this is still more than Tars is capable of dealing with. Master Spell isn't going to do it. Pint-Size Horror won't do it because the minions are too big. What can he pick up that would win him this game?
He needs to do it. Yeah, that's the start, but it might be too late.
Let's see, we've got 9, 11, 18, lethal. Insom has done it. He is going to secure that final semi-final spot over Tars, who we thought was the one with the most unique anti-Druid strategy in the tournament, but Insom has executed even more effectively. Congratulations to him. Very well done.
Yeah, 2 unique lineups, getting one into that semi-final stages. Exciting stuff.
Almost a little bit disappointing that we couldn't see both of them in the semifinal, because then we would have had 2 very traditional strategies and 2 very non-traditional strategies.
Yeah.
But I am happy that we did get to see it. This was a matchup unlike any other that we've had in the tournament so far. No Priest mirrors, no Highlander Priest, period. And we got to see Jade Druid, which I never would have been happy about before, but now it was something different. And
it's
I think
something different to Priest. We're all saying the same thing. It's really strange.
Exactly. It was something different, and you can still see, even against a lineup that wants to beat Jade Druid, you still really can't beat Jade Druid.
Jade Druid just Jade Druids you. 3-1 to Insom there. Tars goes away from this event. Another top 8. His 50th win in DreamHacks. He's had a pretty good time.
He's an absolutely fantastic player. He keeps things interesting, which I really appreciate.
Yes.
And unfortunately, that will be the end of his run. But now we've got Insom to keep things interesting. And we officially have our final 4 semifinalists. When we come back, it's going to be Hotmouth taking on Soyun in the first semifinal of DreamHack Montreal Hearthstone Grand Prix. Don't go anywhere.